Netmarble had the difficult task of bringing Blade and Soul to mobile devices in Blade and Soul Revolution. While this new iteration meets the basic auto MMORPG needs, the PC version still stands out as a better experience. A larger conversation needs to be had about major PC or console titles successfully making mobile versions, since there have only been a few to accomplish that. Regardless, this mobile port doesn't drop out of the fight too easily. Blade and Soul Revolution's main campaign is practically identical in the mobile version. So if you haven't played the original all the way to the endgame, now's your chance. The story revolves around your player character, a student at Hongmoon School learning and mastering martial arts. One day, an evil group decides to attack and massacre your entire class, including your master. Out for revenge, you set out into the world, but not without completing a ton of quests from random NPCs around the world first. I know many players want to quickly grind out the main storyline, to grab all the best equipment they can to get to the world boss fights and PvP. However, you may miss out on some decent world building if you decide to go the non-auto route. You'll be happy to know navigating is a lot easier in Blade and Soul. Blade and Soul Revolution compared to other mobile MMORPGs, thanks to an apparent and visible arrow under your character's feet to show you where your next quest or side quest is. Trying both auto and non-auto options during my time playing felt disjointed. When I put my phone down for about 15 minutes with the autoplay function, I came back to find what essentially felt like 500 notifications of new items, skill level ups, etc. This would normally be exciting, but the UI was so cluttered, it became difficult to navigate the screen, which seemed to be always have something in the way. Crazy menus aside, the game looks great. I'll even say it looks a bit better on mobile. Combat is standard fare when it comes to these action MMORPGs. You can use basic attacks and various skills available to your created character. The chosen skills can combine into new ones to continue your combos on opponents. However, battles can feel like a handout due to low difficulty. There isn't any strategy for a majority of fights, aside from the occasional boss. In those cases, you will need to dodge roll and pick optimal skills that require a lot of damage or crowd control, depending on the situation you're in. You could try to auto-fight bosses, but I've found the AI can't always be trusted. I like that I'm allowed to move around my opponent while performing basic attacks instead of being locked into one position. I'm still able to do damage while maintaining a safe distance, aside from your main quest. Some PvE options feel more involved than other games in the genre. When the original Blade and Soul was first released, everyone was very hyped about the PvP. It was skill-oriented, and that remains in the mobile version. As soon as I enter my first match against another player, I noticed how decked out in gear he was. He almost looked like a dungeon boss from Dark Souls. He quickly chunked my health from 100% to 60% in only a few attacks. I don't know if that player just bought a bunch of stuff from the beginning with real money or has just powered through to the endgame in a matter of a few days. Either way, I shouldn't have been paired with someone that was barely tickled by my attacks. Blade and Soul Revolution features some pretty fun dungeon raids and clan faction-based modes, which can get pretty hectic. The only issue I had was finding an active clan who was willing to participate in the events or anyone who would let me join their party for various PvE fights. So if you can, invite a couple of friends to play with you and start your own clan. While the main story can be played without a strategy, you're going to have to really think about your next move in all the PvE modes. If you decide to go the free-to-play route, don't expect to dominate any leaderboards. Blade and Soul Revolution isn't here to replace Blade and Soul on PC. The mobile offerings are commendable, but provide very little above what you'd expect to find in an auto-battle MMORPG. The PvP and PvE offerings are there for players willing to go a few more rounds throughout the game. There are main story quests that give more insight into the storyline and side quests to complete. I enjoyed watching the cutscenes that came up. The animations and details of characters and scenery are truly impressive. The beginning lines of characters that are interacted with during the quests are voiced. At first, I thought all the lines were voiced, but then I realized that wasn't the case. After they suddenly stop speaking after the first line, players can move around and explore their surroundings, gathering materials like herbs from plants or battle monsters, enemies to level up, or for quests to advance the storyline. In order to interact with certain things like plants, you have to get close up to the object before the hand icon shows up. That indicates the object can be interacted with. I initially thought I would be able to tap on a sparkling object and have the character go to it and interact with it, but that wasn't the case. Characters have specific skills relating to their class that can be activated by tapping on the skill located in the bottom right-hand corner. I like how there are certain skill combos that when played quickly activate to deal more damage. These skill combos can be practiced in the Hongmoon training area, which I thought was a cool feature. Skill rotation can also be changed for auto battling. I think this might be summoner class specific because of the cat familiar, but I like the joint attack element that appears every so often during battles. If the attacks are matched correctly, then the target will be stunned and suffer damage. I thought this was unique. Speaking of factions, Blade and Soul Revolution has a faction war between the Cerulean Order and the Crimson Legion. Players can join the faction of their choice after completing the Act 1 Chapter 30 quest. Each faction has its own outfit that is given to the player when they join the faction, and players can also switch factions if they so choose. There are ranks as well within a faction, which I believe can be increased by participating in the faction war. Equipment can be enhanced, savaged, restored, etc. Add a fire pit to increase stats or obtain material. I don't particularly like the durability element of an equipment. After a certain amount of enhancement fails, the equipment is broken and cannot be enhanced further unless the equipment is restored, but even restoration has a % change of failing. It's unique, but I would appreciate if perhaps the loss in durability occurs after a higher enhancement level, say level 10 or above. One thing I really like in Blade and Soul Revolution is the pet feature. Pets are honestly so adorable, and I love how they just float around the player and have their own cute animations. The pets aren't only adorable, but are also useful in that different pets have different stats like giving EXP boosts or increasing movement speed. Pets, as well as equipment, can be summoned in the shop tab with premium currency that can be purchased with money. I found that there's not too much that premium currency can buy, since most packages currently are bundles that are purchased with money directly. I would rate Blade and Soul Revolution an 8.5 out of 10. I thought the game was pretty enjoyable, but there were some aspects that I didn't necessarily like. For one, I thought there was too much on the screen, or rather too many options and buttons. It's great that there are a lot of features and options, but it was a bit overwhelming being bombarded with everything at the start of the game. Plus, there were so many events and things going on that I had trouble keeping up with everything. Overall though, the graphics are extremely nice. Standing in front of a pool of water puddle, I could see the water glistening and rippling, which I thought was amazing. Movements are smooth. Battling aside from the camera is enjoyable, especially seeing all the skill effect CG. Summoners can summon a gigantic bee to attack an enemy. Blade and Soul Revolution is available now in the App Store and Google Play for iOS and Android devices. So, what are you waiting for? Download now and enjoy playing Blade and Soul Revolution. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more Blade and Soul Revolution content and updates.